face. With every melody he brings the light, turning darkness into bright. On the stage and screens he stands tall. Jon the Wizard answers the call. Strum the night away with Jon so free. Let the music sweep across the sea. Living loud on TikTok stream, living out a rock and roll dream. In the trap, the fans, they clap and cheer. His talent echoing far and near. Notes of wonder fill the space, bringing smiles to every face. With every melody he brings the light, turning darkness into bright. On the stage of screens he stands tall. Jon the Wizard answers the call. Strum the night away with Jon so free. Let the music sweep across the sea. Living loud on TikTok stream, living out a rock and roll dream. Whoa, whoa.
Check.
Whoa, living out a rock and roll dream.
Hi, everybody. We're here today on this fine Christmas Eve for another couple of hours, and then it'll be actual Christmas Eve. Unless you're in other parts of the world, it may be Christmas Eve already for you. And if so, Merry Christmas, everybody. So I did a thing today. Had a fun dental appointment, just a standard cleaning. And then I got here and realized, hey, Merry Christmas, David. Thank you for that. Right before I went on, that I had not charged my in-ear monitors. So we'll play some stuff, but I have to pick stuff that's kind of not that I don't need the ears for. So we're gonna try that, and we may not be here too terribly long tonight. It just depends on how it's looking, and I'm looking across 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 platforms. I just got 2 people watching, so 1 person now. So it is what it is. So we'll hang around here for half an hour and see what happens, and just let's just have a hang. Let's just chit chat here for a little bit, and we can maybe I'll play some guitar, maybe I won't. Maybe I'll talk about some plans I've got for the new year. What kind of stuff you got coming up for the new year? What are you thinking about in these times that try men's souls? So I know I'm excited about 26. I got a new band starting up, and we got a bunch of shows booked. So that's a blessing right out of the gate. So who knows what's going to happen. It's a little toasty here in the Wizard Hut with the fire going and whatnot. Welcome in. So we're up to 5 people watching. Yes, Alex. There are those who call me that. Well, I'm not really a singer. I'm a guitar player, first and foremost. I'm a guitar player who sings that much. Very little. And it's just because I'm so focused on the other stuff. But I've been playing guitar for over 40 years. Wow. That sounds amazing now that I say it. Reflecting back on my days when I first started out trying to learn how to play, getting frustrated with the guitar, wanting to throw it out the window and just walk away from it and go be normal like everybody else, is what they used to tell me. Why can't you just be normal? I'm just not wired that way. That's why. So, but Yeah, there's lots of frustration. There's periods where I'm truly like a mad scientist when it comes to the guitar. I try to think in things because I didn't have the traditional. I didn't have the traditional lesson thing. I took some lessons. The guy showed me to play a few songs, and then he got a big gig, and that was into him. And he was the last guitar lesson I took, really, from anybody. I play rock and roll. I play classic rock mostly. I like prog rock, so I like stuff like Yes and Rush and um, Neil Morris, Dream Theater, stuff like that. I don't generally play those songs. I'll play a couple of those, but hey, thanks for the follow. I just generally don't play them. Number one, because I don't want to destroy my hand. I'm not a young man anymore. But you know, I basically play the stuff that I get paid to play. So either country music or classic rock stuff. Like the new band I'm playing with is essentially just classic rock. But I've toured with country artists, a couple of country artists, and let's see, 3 country artists, and I've regionally toured with rock bands. So I don't have any George Strait in my catalog right now as I have it. Years ago, I did play Amarillo by Morning. That was really the only one I think I've ever had to perform. Most of those, the thing was with country music, so I'm a rock and roll guitar player. So country music goes in these phases where, like in the 90s, early 90s there, they were all about getting classic rock guitarists to come in to kind of make it more edgy. So, your guys like Travis Tritt and that bunch come out, Kentucky Headhunters. They wanted more of a rock edge to it, like a southern rock kind of thing. And that stayed kind of popular for a little bit. And then the Chicken Pickers got really big. And chicken picking's not my big thing. I can do it, but I have to work at it. And so those guys get more popular, and the rock guys kind of get less popular. So right now, there's a lot of guys up there who are doing the chicken picking thing, and they're riding high on the classic country stuff. But your modern country stuff is, which is what I was in on my last tour, was more rock edge. I mean, it was straight up rock and roll guitar solos. The guy that was doing the stuff for Dalton in the studio, it was like a kindred spirit. I swear, I've never had stuff handed to me. I was like, this is what I would have played. So, ow, I just kicked my microphone. So yeah, so that's that. I mean, I do like Brooks and Dunn. Do you use guitar picks? Yes, I'm actually endorsed by Pick Boy. There's one right there. Pick Boy picks, and this is the metacarbonate, which they no longer produce. So I've still got some of them left. I thought I was out, and then I found a bunch more. So I'm going through these metacarbonates, and then I'm going to switch to another material. But I do. It's a real cool company. Ed, the guy that's the American, I guess he's the president of the American distribution. He's super cool guy, and you just look up Pick Boy Picks and you'll find them. Fireball. Oh, it's interesting. You throw the word fireball out there. So yeah, when I'm out on tour, I see a lot of people doing the old drinking that stuff. It's not for me. Not for me. I like other stuff. I'm too old school for that stuff, I think. And so, but how are you doing, KGA 3633? KGA 3633. Sounds like a code name. Ha! You're good. Well, that's awesome. I'm glad. And just kind of hanging. I realized right as I was going live that I didn't charge my in-ear packs, and so they're dead. So I only have a handful of songs that don't require me to have the click in it. So we may play some, we may not. We're just having a hang right now. Just to talk, telling some stories about playing music, growing up playing music and stuff. It's like for me growing up, I grew up in a household where rock music was not a cool thing, right? So my dad was very much old school bluegrass and old school country. And when I'm talking country, I'm talking like Fair and Young and those guys. Now he was big on Chet Atkins and Merle Travis and stuff like that. So now you can see there's these two worlds that's fixing to collide. So my dad was the old school. He was into bluegrass and old school country, like 40s, 50s, and 60s. And then here I come in and I hear Eddie Van Halen, and I want to do that. And so it was like, pow. And the crazy thing was I grew up around famous bluegrassers. I worked during the summer. How I got my first legit guitar, and when I say legit, is my first real guitar, which was my Les Paul. I worked like a dog over the course of a summer running sound at bluegrass festivals. And I was probably 13, 14 years old at the time. The guy was just paying me under the table, and I was just grunt work. But as I got older, I started learning how to set it all up, how to run it, and then I got to know some of these old guys like Bill Monroe and Jim and Jesse and Dr. Ralph Stanley, and they were all super cool to me. When they were all made aware that I wanted to be a guitar player, and they was like, "What you going to play?" And I'm like, "I want to be like Eddie Van Halen." Or Angus Young. They didn't know who that is, and they're like, "Oh, rock and roll. You can't make no money in that old rock and roll music." And that was my dad's point. He would always say, "What are you talking about? Of course you can." And I was like, "Oh, Dad, the sad thing about it is those guys are so old." And, I'm like in my teens, and these guys are in their 60s and 70s. That's like, by the time I get up to where I can go out and tour, they're all going to be dead, which is true. Most of them are all gone by the time I was in my 20s, 20s and 30s. So, wasn't going to hang on my hat on that. Now, of course, there was a little bluegrass revival that kind of hit, and there's like, there was these certain songs that would hit every now and then. The big one for me was, when I noticed that more people was getting into bluegrass was with, like when "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou" come out, and that being a hit at the movie theater, and it was full of bluegrass, Any tips on someone who's been playing mainly acoustic for about 10 to 11 months? Yes. I'll give you the best piece of advice. Steve Morse gave me this piece of advice when I was 15 years old. And he started off asking me a bunch of questions like, so do you know how to play an A minor chord? I go, yeah. Do you know how to play an A minor 7 chord? I was like, I think so. And he says, do you know how to play, a G flat minor 7? I went, no. And then he said, you know how to do this chord? And I was like, no. Do you know how to do this chord? No. He goes, you know what a scale is? And I said, I know what one is. I don't know how to use it. And he said, I'm going to give you the best piece of advice I can give you. And I said, what's that, Mr. Morris? And he said, go out and get anything with the word guitar on it. If it's the history of guitar, how to build a guitar, wiring of the guitar, famous guitars, famous guitar players, magazines, like Acoustic Guitar Monthly or something like that. He said, get it, read it. You will learn something from it. And he's right. I started building a library from that night, and I've got a massive guitar library of either sheet music or instructional videos. I had a friend there in Germany sometime in, I think it was around the mid 90s. This was back on bulletin boards, and he was sending me German tab books, like of famous rock bands, and I was sending him, PDFs of stuff that I had. And I got a lot of stuff out of Europe and Asia during that time. I couldn't read it, but I understood the tablature and read a ton of articles. And but that all boils down to also finding a way to attack things that you're deficient on and learning how to recognize what you're deficient on. So with an acoustic guitar, I would say maximize your chord knowledge to the nth degree and start learning triads up and down the fingerboard on an acoustic guitar from the 1st to the 12th fret. Learn how to play an A. Like if you're using the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd string, learn how to play an A triad and then the 2 inversions of it. And then go back and do the minor. And eventually what you want to be able to do is quickly be able to play A, B, C, D, E, F, G, major, and minor. That will accelerate your chord playing. There you go, KGA, playing the Pioneer. Now, with when it comes to stuff like scales and stuff, what I did was I did the same thing like everybody else, where you start with a pentatonic and you play the double hockey sticks out of it, and you just go crazy on it. And then you play the octave of it, the same thing. And I was hung up on that for a long time, and that's all I did. And it didn't matter what the guitar solos were, I just played out of that pentatonic. So what happened was I got in a real good band. And so while I was in that newbie phase, turn up the guitar here for a second. While I was in that newbie phase, I was playing everything out of the pentatonic. Right? And then I'd go up to the octave and play the same thing. Well, after I listened to a 3-hour show and everything I played was out of that scale, I went, uh-oh, I'm in trouble. I better do something, otherwise I'm going to get kicked out of this band. So what I did was I started adding one note. So I was like, what's the next note up? So if I take the bottom half of this, let's see, which way do I need to scoot? Bottom half of this pentatonic. And I added one note up. I didn't realize it, but I was learning the second pattern. And then I started doing one note down. And then somewhere I ran across the pentatonics because I didn't have like a normal guitar teacher. I had to read everything. So then I started discovering like the second pattern. Right? Then somewhere in there I developed what I called my CG theory. And the reason why I say C and G is because they're real far apart. So here's G on the 3rd fret, and then the C's down here at the 8th fret. So they're real far apart. So my logic was learn everything in the key of C/A minor or G/E minor. And if I need to play, it's like, say this is A minor right here. I need to play B minor, I just slide everything up 2 frets. Right? If I need to play G minor, go down 2 frets. Right? So now I got G, A, B. If I need C, go up one more above B. And then if you're in the key of G/E minor is at the 12th fret, right? So you go down, you got D, that's 2. You go up 1, you got F. You go up 2 more, you're at G. Now you got A, B, C, D, E, F, G covered. And then if you've got sharps and flats, there you go. Now, that was just pentatonics. But then when I started learning, like, the mode patterns, like, say, here's an A Ionian, 5th fret, 5, 7, 9, 5, 7, 9, 6, 7, 9, 6, 7, 9, 7. 7, 9, 10, 7, 9, 10. Right? I learned it that diagonal way everybody goes. But then I realized I need to learn this scale so well that I can play it if I need to jump up here, like a fret or two up. So what I did was I went back and learned the same scale, but this time I started it with my second finger and played it going back. And so instead of diagonal this way, I'm just going straight down here. Up. And then I learned it with my pinky. And so what happens is I'm playing the same scale, starting on the 5th fret, going 5 to 10. Then I learned it starting on the 5th fret, but then going 5 to 5, and then going 5 to like 2. So going that diagonal direction. Little did I realize I was also learning parts of the other modes, So if you just take a scale and just force yourself to play it starting with different fingers. I know I'm out of the camera, so let me do it again. So there you go. You get it kind of opens up your mind to it. And you do that with all scales, And that if just learning that one scale, you're going from the 5th fret to the 10th, but you're also going down to like the 2nd fret. And that's kind of cool. So that opens up a fingerboard. When it comes to like modes, I don't think in like, oh, I'm going to play this and get a Dorian sound. I just think of tonal center. So the tonal center of the song is an A minor chord. Then I'm going to play all the modes of A minor, but I'm still hanging on that tonal center. So that's the way, at least for me. That's how I justified it. I don't know about everybody else, but for me, that's what I did. So let's see. What's the comment? Says I'd like to imagine an invisible shoebox of music knowledge you've gained until that point, right? The one you. I like to imagine a invisible shoebox of music knowledge you gained until that point, right? The one you bring with you on. Okay, that I did not follow what you're talking about there. Sorry, KGA. It's okay. So, but now I had a lot of trial and errors. One of the best things that ever happened to me early on, I was playing in my first little rock band. We were attempting to play, Smoke on the Water and stuff like that, and we were probably doing it wrong. Probably doing it with, power chords instead of the... Right. So I was probably doing it wrong, but back in the day. But I just gotten in my van. I didn't know anything. I didn't really have a teacher, so I just started learning. Well, our drummer was bragging about me to his guitar player in his country band. So I went one night to watch him play with his country band at this community center, and this guitar player said, "Well, get up here, hot shot, and let's hear you play something." This is one of the worst things that ever happened to me, but it was one of the best things that ever happened to me. So I get up on stage, and they're playing. I think they were playing something in A major, and I was trying to play A minor stuff on it. Now, literally, if I'd just known to flatten that, make that minor third a major third, so sharpen the minor to a major, I'd have been fine. But I didn't know that, so I was playing it, and it just sounded awful. It was terrible. It embarrassed the crap out of me. Like I said, I was probably at this point maybe 16. Yeah, I think I was. No, I had to be 15. I met Steve Morse at 14. This would have been at 15, because by 16, I was a guitar teacher. So what happened was, at the end of the night, I'm helping my friend carry his drums out so he can come back to the little woodshed where we had our little rock band. And I carried out my friend's bass drum. And when I come back in, I hear this guitar player just ripping on him, saying, "You don't need to be playing with that guy. That guy doesn't know what he's doing. He'll never amount to anything on guitar." And then they look up, and both of them look up and see me. My friend was horrified. But in a moment of clarity, I looked at that guy, and I said, "Well, man, how long have you been playing?" And he said, "I've been playing since I'm 6. And I said, "How old are you?" And he goes, "Well, I'm 56. I said, "Dude, I've only been playing like 2 years." I said, "See where I'm at in 5. Now, here's the funny thing. 5 years later, I was giving that guy guitar lessons. Because the same thing happened to him, but it was on the inverse. He was playing with country bands, and then he goes and sits in with a rock band, and he tried to play some of his country stuff, and it didn't fit. And even though all that time he had of playing, he had never crossed into another genre, and it bothered him. And so, but the best thing that lesson taught me was to say, why? Why, if I'm playing this chord, that this A minor scale didn't work? Well, I didn't know about minor thirds and stuff like that. So it made me question everything. If I played a bad note, then I'd go back later and go, why did that not work? Where should I went, right? And it started me on this crazy path of, like a mad scientist. I'd sit and I would just play chords, and then I'd go over and try to noodle something, and it was like, why didn't that work? So, and then that's how I kind of got to my kind of screwed up way of playing guitar, Technique is technique, If you're just sitting there like you want to do arpeggio, I like to pick arpeggio. So that's a major. What's a minor? What's a suspended? So those are the kind of things that I would just sit and constantly ask, It's like tapping. I remember one time I got on this kick about doing tapping, and when I first started trying to do, that famous song that has the tapping in it, right? That one. Merry Christmas, Martin. When I first started doing tapping, it'd sound like this. And it had that break in it. And I'd get so mad because I couldn't make it go. It would just come out. Right? Instead of. So this is a good lesson for people out there. If you get hung up on something like that, no matter how hard you try, you're sitting there and it should be a smooth flow of notes, but you've got some kind of break in it. I remember I was like, I don't know how old at the time, but my family was going on vacation, and I couldn't take a guitar with me. So we were gone for 2 weeks. And I just remember being frustrated because I couldn't take a guitar with me because I was obsessing over this. Right? So then what happened was I come back after 2 weeks after not touching a guitar, went and picked up the guitar and went. I'm like, what the heck? So sometimes you do need a break from working on things. You get in a rut, so to speak. Um, but now when people say to me, it's like, oh, I'm in a rut, I kind of cringe a little bit with that because there's so much knowledge you could be working on. If you're in a rut with a song, play a different song. If it's a specific type of lick, then find something else. You know, somebody asked, can you play Roy Buchanan's Sweet Dreams? I like Roy Buchanan, but I don't know that I've ever tackled that song. I don't think so. Matter of fact, I don't even remember how that one goes now that I think about it. But Roy Buchanan, awesome guitar player. Okay, question for the 10 people watching. Question, out of all the shows you've ever seen, who was the one that inspired you the most to go back and pick up an instrument, if you play? If you don't, then who was like the one show that you look back on and go, my gosh, that was amazing? All right. I'll wait for you guys to answer since I've been talking. I've talked this whole time, which has been fun. I think I've been on a guitar binge lately, and I needed a break. And of course, this will be if I do stream any more this week, it'll be game streams. I listened to Two Steps from Hell. Okay, I don't know what that is. So, did you see them or did you just listen to them? I was talking about in a show. So, like for me, I got to see that first guitar clinic with Steve Morris. And that was back when he was playing with Kansas. And then a couple of years later, he comes back through, and I'm the guitar teacher at that store. But for me, I got to see the Dixie Dregs. When I saw Steve Morris doing those were clinics. That's just like a Q&A thing, him demonstrating. He played a couple of songs. It's not like a concert. So I went to go see the Dixie Dregs one time, which was his fusion band. And that was amazing. And then I saw him again at a place in Knoxville, Tennessee called Flamingos. And there were so few people there that everybody sat on the floor, and I literally sat at his feet watching him play. That was amazing. I went home and practiced my hands off. Two Steps from Hell is an orchestra group that uses all strings from strings to electronics. I saw them. Oh, okay. All right. There you go. Yeah, so that's what I'm kind of talking about. It's like seeing Dream Theater for the first time, which I think was the Awake tour, was the first time I saw them. I was completely blown away by that. Rush, seeing them pull off all that sound with just the three of them. Amazing. And then I saw Jethro Tull, just because I liked the structure of the music. It wasn't that it was real shreddy, but it's well done, well thought out music. So yeah, I've seen a lot of people. I've seen Skynyrd. Got to open up for Leonard Skinner. Skynyrd was my second concert ever, and then 30 plus years later, I'm on stage before them. So no, most of those guys had passed on, but there was one or two of the original guys floating around. And then I got on a kick with Led Zeppelin. Holy crap. Just loved the kind of mystical elements of Zeppelin. And of course, I'm from that generation where we didn't have an iPod. I mean, somebody described it really cool to me the other day. It's like you're part of that generation that went from analog to digital. So we grew up with cassette decks and record players, but then we adopted CDs, and then Napster come along, and MP3s, and then we went digital. But I do like to listen to a record every now and then. So, I'm really into. Can you try The Devil in by Slip? Yeah, that's not something I would play. It's not my jam, man. So you're on TikTok. Check out the Corn Lord. He might be your guy for that. He's pretty awesome. He's a pretty cool dude too. But yeah, I'm not down with Slipknot. It's just never been my thing. I'm a little too old for that one. But hey, I'm honest about it. I'm not going to get up here and try to murder my way through it. So, that's the thing. I've been in bands where it's like, hey, let's do this Slipknot song. And I would always be the guy that's like, nobody will get it. And they're like, oh, yeah, just try it. I remember having this argument with a guy one time about he wanted us to do Hangar 18 Megadeth, which I love Megadeth. And I was like, yeah, sure, but nobody's going to get it. And we performed it twice, and it was like looking at a skull factory out there. Nobody got it. And it's just like, there was a couple of metalheads out there, and I'm like, yeah. But two people out of a bar full of, 150 people, you can't go by that. So the name of the game is, when you're performing covers, you serve your music up to the ladies. You still play rock music, and there's a lot of ladies out there that like rock music. But you serve the music to them, because if you get them out there rocking out, then you've got the guys, because the guys are just naturally going to follow the ladies out. So that one's a tough pill to swallow too. I remember having a conversation with a friend of mine. I was in this band. The band's still going here in Chattanooga, called Voodoo Slim, and we were crushing it, playing out. And when I left that band, other bands were calling me. He's like, hey, we want you to come play for us. And so I remember telling this friend of mine, I was like, yeah, send me your set list. And he sent me the set list, and then I took a marker and went through 60 to 70% of his songs, and I said, nobody's going to get this. You're not going to attract a crowd. What are you talking about? Those are cool songs. I didn't say they weren't cool, but ladies ain't going to come watch you play this. Guys will, and that's just that's not your target. Your target is to play to the ladies, because if you get the ladies out there, then you get the guys, and then you get happy bar owners. So, yeah. Now, if you're and it sucks too, because you can get out and get your wheels rolling faster as a cover band. The work is much harder when you're trying to do original. Can you play some dark riffs like? That's pretty dark. Here we go. I got a friend of mine. He's into doom metal, and he's a cool dude. And I just wish he didn't live here. I wish he lived somewhere where he could, because I think he would do so well if he lived out in West or maybe out in Texas, because he writes good stuff, but nobody's going to, around here. I mean, we're in the right here close to Nashville, and they expect, midlife. How are you? We're just kind of having a talk tonight. I'm not really played anything. I'm just kind of just chatting away. How's your day been? Midlife is my awesome friend. How's this? There we go. Yeah, now I can do it. Midlife's here. I've been talking all kinds of stories tonight. We've talked about concerts, and I talked about my early life playing, and you got some baking done. Yeah, there you go. We talked about, I was talking about growing up in a household where I wasn't allowed to listen to rock music. So all my friends would send me mixtapes. And I had that one friend who was nothing but a Kiss fan, so he would send me, it's like, here's some Aerosmith, here's some Lessons, but here's 3 Kiss albums. And he actually turned me against Kiss because it's all he would give me. And I'm like, I don't want to hear Kiss anymore. What's this other band? So everybody's out of school now. Everybody's chillaxing. Everybody's excited. Starting tomorrow, the big holiday. Woo! Yeah, I know. Looking forward to everybody's home. Everything's closed for the most part, or it will close tomorrow afternoon. Yeah. We several years ago we made Christmas less about the hustle and bustle, and we went to the family. It's like, look, we will buy gifts for the kids, but that's it. We're not going to wreck ourselves and wreck our budget. Let's get together, have a meal, tell stories, laugh, have a good time, and just be together. And that was one of the best things we did. There's a couple of family members kind of scoffed at it. And it's like, why? You don't need to buy me a gift. It's just, let's get together, watch some TV, watch some sports, have a good meal. That's like when people ask me, it's like, what do you want for your birthday? I don't want anything. I just want a meal with the family. And I don't need some knick-knack to go on the wall, or this month's popular tie. Now, the coolest birthday gift I was given, on my 50th birthday, I got my red one of these, and that was pretty cool. But that's a work tool for me too. Eat, play games, hang out. Yeah, I matter of fact, I think I only did maybe an hour and a half last night, and then I jumped on, and I think I found my new game. I'm going to do Fallout New Vegas. This is my next game. Pew, pew. So last night after I finished Skyrim, I started working on the character. People's like, this isn't Skyrim. I know, I finished it. So people got angry with me, and they said bad words like, this isn't Skyrim. No. So how's your streaming been going, Midlife? Did you get caught up? Yes, I am going to cut that down to 3 days on the music streaming. And the reason being, pretty much since September, it's not been good. On that platform, it has not been good. So I'm kind of focusing on making videos, and I'll do live streams. But yeah, the days of 3-hour streams, not unless I got a lot of people. Like right now, we've got 7, and I'm just talking, and it's been a consistent, 8. Yeah, I'm gonna try it. Just not interested in getting into doing battles. It's just not who I am. I'm friends with a band called Aunt Betty. They play that. They do a version of that song they call Aunt Betty. That's a good song. Thanks for being out there. Is that Irizo or Irizo? Arizo, maybe? So, but yeah, I've had a pretty chillax day. I taught some lessons today. So I've got probably one more lesson for the year with a student, and that'll be it. Megadeth? Yeah, I'm not your guy for that. Check the Corn Lord. He'd probably be because I haven't done any Megadeth in a bazillion years. Villa, hey man, hey, back to you. Is anybody traveling the great distance for Christmas, or is everybody staying kind of close? So the traveling this year is my son came home from Knoxville. So I came to my family's house in Brazil. Wow. Now, where do you live at? If you traveled to Brazil, how long of a travel was that? You know, I was talking about triads earlier to somebody, and I was showing them a C triad. So this is 3rd fret, 5th fret, and it's like, this is a C, this is a C, this is a C, this is a C. So triad, 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 triad. And then you can come down here and go triad, same chord, C, 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 C. And then you can come down here to the open notes, C, 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 C. Woo. All right. Oh, and the other thing, the reason why I'm not really playing too much songs is I forgot to charge my in-ears. So I'm like, okay, I've only got like a couple of songs that I don't need them on, so. So, but yeah. So we're at I'm going to go to the hour mark, which we're at 48 minutes. So maybe we should play some songs. How about I pick a couple of songs? These are the ones I know I can play without my in-ears. And so the schedule's going to go Monday, Wednesday, and it'll either be Thursday, Friday for music streams. It just depends on what I've got going on musically, because I've got a bunch of show dates, and then weekends are just game streams, random game streams. Because I think what's happening is I'm one, there's a bazillion musicians now live streaming. Nothing wrong with that. So I have to pivot to something else. So, you know what I mean? Yeah. I'm sure you do see it. You know, anybody that follows me, one lady told me she had to quit coming to my live streams because she was getting bombarded with guitarists all day long. And so she reset her thing. So she comes in just sporadically, which, yes, so that's not helping. So what was I going to play? Oh, I remember now. All right, we'll do, let's see, what we're at, 10 minutes left. So we'll do, guitar players, drummers, and DJs. I get violin players because I interacted with this one lady who played violin. Lots of singers and stuff. So it is what it is. All right, so let's do this one, and then I'll do one for midlife, and then we'll probably call it. All right, here we go. forever. Woohoo! Oh, all right. So I'm going to play this one for midlife because she deserves it. She's awesome. I bet she knows what it is. we go. That was fun. That was fun. So I'm going to close her down now. Yeah, so everybody go and get prepared for Christmas Eve, if it's not already Christmas Eve where you're watching. Let's see here. Thank you, Billy. That's awesome. I appreciate that, man. So, like I said, I'm cutting the stream down instead of 5 days a week. We're going to go down to Monday, Wednesday, and either Thursday or Friday, depending on my show schedule. Thank you each and every one for coming out tonight, hanging out with me. We'll do this again. Probably won't do one again until Monday for music. I may pop up and do a game stream sometime while everybody's in, and if everybody's asleep or whatever, I may come out here and do a game stream. But otherwise, I will see you back here on Monday, 9 p.m. Eastern. We'll do some more music. I'll have my in-ears charged up. I'll talk a lot less. Midlife, thank you for coming, hanging out. I appreciate it. We need to have a chit-chat again. We need to do another Discord chit-chat, and I'll give you my ideas of what I'm thinking. And with that being said, may your holidays be blessed, may be full of joy, may you have a heart filled with music, that you do no harm to anyone, and your days are blessed. And I'll see you back here on Monday. So, peace, be kind to one another. I'll see you soon.